anything you would change, magic wand, about the restaurant industry as a whole right now? Something that maybe is broken that you'd love to fix across the industry, or something you just love to see improve?
I really, really don't like tipping. I think it creates a big pay disparity between the front and back of house. I think it's just an antiquated, broken system, a vestige of a time that we don't need to relive. Um, it's really, really hard to eliminate it as an operator,
Hmm.
because you can't explain. I would have to. I've run the numbers. Everything across the board would have to be 30% more expensive, and it's hard to explain that to a consumer that's not aware of why tipping works or how it works and what that means for us as a business. And the first one through the door oftentimes gets bloody, and I'm not really willing to do that at this point. We're
No,
only 3.5 years. Maybe talk to me after it's been open for 10 years and I'll change my tune. But,
it's
um, look at everybody in the pandemic, like
I was
one
going to
off
say the
or,
pandemic just changed the whole tipping culture as
a
well.
well,
hundred percent.
Union Square went back to tipping during the pandemic, which is crazy Danny Meyer led the charge on that. And then because of the environment, um, of the pandemic, they went back. I don't know if they've, you know, since gone back to the no tipping thing. And frankly, I really like no tipping restaurants. Like Emily and I went to 11 Madison Park on our for our first anniversary in 2016, and I thought it was really reasonable for what we got. It
Right.
was a four-figure bill, but it was also like I didn't feel like, I got cheated out of anything because I didn't get to decide what was on the tip line, you know.
Right.
Yeah. I
I
kind
And
of
and
like it
then
too.
and then tipping culture has gotten into this whole thing with, like you got to tip at the drive-through at Starbucks. And it's like, why the hell do I like,
you
is
don't
there a big
have to.
multinational
Yeah.
corporation? You
I know,
can't
but you
figure
feel
out,
bad when they turn the screen around at the places and
right.
they're
What
sitting
drives
right
me
in front of
nuts
you,
is
you
though,
know?
It's
because
like you just poured me an iced coffee. Come on, man.
Yeah.
in uh in Canada, we did, like we've done cashless for longer than I think the US has done.
Yeah,
We
yeah, yeah.
had debit and credit payments, and so I know for a fact that they could turn that tip function off. It's not like the point of sale system is saying, no, 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 leave this on. They can turn it on, and they don't. And so I have no problem knowing that. I have no problem. Like, I almost want to say, like, how do I hit zero on here? Is there a zero button? Like this is counter service. And I think, for my perspective, when I moved from the kitchen to serving, it was like, I have to do this. Like, what am I doing? Look at all the money they're making. I'd be silly not to. And so I moved in the dining room, and my wife and I worked at these two places just down the street from each other. And she was at this crazy busy pub, and I was in a dining room at a steakhouse. And I felt like at the end, I'm like, I'm stealing money almost, because I was here for 4 or 5 hours. I served a handful of people. The check average was so high, and I made my percentage of it. And then my wife has a 25 table section, and she's running and making it kind of piecemeal. I'm like, you deserve every ounce of that money. You deserve every red cent
Right.
because you were running off your feet. And we weren't complaining because we'd bring the money back to the household. But I find there is a disparity in there about a high-end dining room making a percentage of this extremely large bill. You better be so knowledgeable about everything that's on that menu. You better know everything about the wines. I think that's where you earn your money as a server, which of course rarely happens, as opposed to when you go to the bar or a pub or somewhere that is, you see these servers running off their feet, and they're at one table, they're yelling, "Can I get you another beer over there?" And like, that's their life. I have no problem putting extra money for them, on the bill. But yeah, but I think, and then for me, counter service tipping culture, I think that needs to be completely done. Like, I should not have to make two steps on the screen to say, no, I'm
And
not leaving a tip at the drive-through. Yeah.
right. And, I think it's like a lot of things that it started with noble intentions and then people took advantage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not
100%.
talking about small operators. I'm talking about the Starbucks of the world, right?
100%.
Because
Yeah.
in most states, they get a credit on that. They get a tip credit because the tips are making up for wages that they're not paying. It just doesn't, none of it sits right with me. It's so multifaceted. I think about it a lot.
Me too. I
But
think I think maybe it starts here with us on this podcast.
right.
Starbucks, everybody, turn the tip function off on your point of sale.
But then are you stealing from those employees because Starbucks is only paying them $12 an hour?
Well,
You
that's
know?
the
Well,
argument,
that's the
right?
other thing, right?
Yeah.
And so states, Michigan's one of them, have done things to combat that. And Michigan's getting rid of the tip minimum wage, and they're phasing in a minimum wage across the board. But again, from the operator standpoint, it's like my tipped employees are making like 40, 45, $50 an hour. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
doing just fine. Um, and again, it's most consumers don't know that I'm going to have to pay them 15, 16, 17, $18 an hour, and they're going to still tip 20% on top of it.
Mhm.
So how do you reconcile the two things? And then also, oh yeah, now everything's more expensive because my payroll just went up by, that X%. So I don't know. The whole thing is really dirty and yucky, and that's just one reason I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
so many.
Yeah.
This
I
has
feel
been
like
a
we
good
could do.
conversation. Yeah.
I know. I feel like we could do an entire hour-long episode on tipping culture and the industry and where it's headed, where do people want it to go, et cetera, et cetera. But
I think it's just like so ingrained in American culture
well,
that
that too,
it's
right?
hard
Like,
to get rid of,
yeah, it's a huge part of being here.
Um, and I haven't, I've thought about it a lot, and I haven't come up with a great way of getting rid of it. So
Yeah. Well, apparently the industry hasn't either. Oh,
right.
yeah.
To put a bow on it, because this is actually recent, and there's a very busy brewery down the street from me, and they've just opened, and they are absolutely just going crazy. Huge, 400 seats. So it's counter service, like a brewery. You go up, and there's got servers. So basically, they're pooling all the tips. And I heard anecdotally that one of the dishwashers is making like $30 an hour or something because they're so
Yeah,
busy.
that's great.
That and so I like, hey, that's great, like for this kid washing dishes, and everybody is making money in that place, because you put down your 10-15%, whatever you want to do, and it goes to every single person that touched your food and drink in that area. So I don't know if that's the way. It's like you must pool tips. It doesn't go to one person. But anyways, we can table this, because it sounds like we
Yeah.
could spend a long time
Yeah.
on this. Yeah.